Hi guys, this is Jackie Cooper with JCooperTravels, and today I am really excited to have Joshua back. We're doing a series. He is an expert in the area of tax and advising a variety of businesses, all different sizes. And today we're going to be talking about exactly that, different businesses and different advice that you kind of need to think about when you are tax planning. Joshua, I am going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and what your business encompasses. I know that for those that might not be familiar with our podcast series, there have been other episodes, so definitely take a look at J Cooper Travels because this is the second in a series, and Joshua is really experienced, and definitely there will also be contact information in the box on the podcast and also on YouTube. So that way, if you find that you have a need for a consultant like Joshua, definitely reach out to him. He's provided me with invaluable advice. So Joshua, I'm going to stop talking for the moment and let you introduce yourself. Thank you so much.
Jackie, thank you again for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. But my name is Joshua Thompson. I'm the owner of Thompson Tax Group. What we do is we focus on tax planning aspect of things. We try and be proactive with you throughout the year, work with you and create a plan and incorporate strategies that we can use instead of being reactive at the end of the year, then having a tax return and then not knowing how much you're going to owe. So that's a lot that we do. We focus a lot on tax planning, bringing tax strategies to your attention and moving forward with you in that aspect of it. Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah, it's a great way to summarize because you and I have been talking. We kind of met through LinkedIn and we've been talking throughout the year, and we both realized that October is the perfect time to have the next part of our episode because, like you said, you don't want to wait till December for planning. You really need to be doing this throughout the year, but if you haven't done it from January to now, then you should be thinking about, okay, how do I plan for the last quarter? What kind of things do I need to pre-plan for January? Again, I know that COVID kind of threw a little bit of a loop in the mix for everyone, but there are certain basic premises that happen and that still apply no matter what the environment is. Now, one of the things that we talked about, and it's really important, especially some people might have the knowledge, but some people might not. So what are the most common business entities? Can you help out in sharing that?
Yeah, definitely. One of the few that you'll hear all the time, and a lot of times, and most people think that they are, is you'll hear LLC, limited liability company. And when you ask what entity are you, I've found a lot of younger entrepreneurs, even middle to older entrepreneurs, think an LLC is usually the correct answer, but really the LLC is regulated at the state level instead of the IRS level. So a lot of times when someone asks you what kind of entity you are, they're looking for really the top four type of entities, being the S corporation as an option, a C corporation, the sole proprietor, or even the partnership. And each one has their own benefits when it comes down to taxes and even benefits when it comes down to the legal side of things. Those are really the four most common entity types when it comes down to taxes. But once again, like an LLC isn't necessarily how you're taxed. And when someone asks you what type of entity you are, not looking for the LLC, but more of one of the four other type of entities this was talking about.
So for those that might not know, my background, even though I am in the travel space, hence the name J Cooper Travels, my background's I'm a lawyer, but I'm also a special education teacher, and I have a variety of businesses. So what Josh was talking about is very interesting to me because from one perspective, I get a W-2 from my teaching side, but I have different entities, and I have made a decision, whether it's right or wrong, that my entities are going to be not incorporated. But there are different, like you said, pros and cons for each of these type of entities. So from a tax perspective, because I'm not going to be talking about from the law perspective today, but from the tax perspective, can you kind of go through each of the entities and kind of talk about, some of the areas that people might have to consider? Again, you might start off as one entity and then you might transform yourself as your
Yes.
business develops into another.
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts when people
Yeah.
first start out the gate a business, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a great point that you bring up. And I always like to focus on 6 areas of characteristics I like to go over when I'm determining what would be the best entity for you. Because, like we were saying, every entity has its pros and every entity has its cons. A lot of times when you're getting started, and this isn't legal advice, a lot of times when you get started, the sole proprietor can be best for you because it's usually a little bit cheaper. There's not as much cost that goes into having a sole proprietor. They also come with a few tax advantages. For instance, one that a lot of people don't know about, when you have children and you're a sole proprietor, that you don't have to pay self-employment taxes for your child's income. So that's another benefit of being a sole proprietor. And then
The other thing, I'll just gonna interrupt you for a quick
yeah, go
second.
ahead.
Um, Everything that Joshua or I say, you have to do your own research. This is not going to be any online advice, and definitely consult with him offline. He's
Yeah,
talking in generalities, and it's everything that he's saying is true. However, you need to kind of take all this information and consider your own situation. But definitely, I'm highly suggesting that you reach out to him so he can actually, in a one-on-one consultation, look at your situation to kind of analyze what's best. Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
definitely. Because thank you, because every situation is completely different. Someone just getting started, it could be a sole proprietor, but if you're doing XYZ, you could need a C corporation or S corporation when getting started. And to kind of touch on the six characteristics I was talking about earlier, one of the biggest ones that you want to look at is always mess up with this word, continuity or continue. Basically, how you want the corporation to continue. A lot of
Exactly.
times, depending on the type of entity you have, for instance, a sole proprietor, if you pass along, that business is over. But if you have a C corporation or S corporation, if you pass away, that business goes on and that entity lives on as well. So that's one of the characteristics you wanted to think about when determining what entity is best for you. A next one is centralized management. And that's really of who has the majority of the power, who can make the majority of the decisions in your entity. If you have a sole proprietor, majority of the times, all the time, you're really going to be making all the decisions yourself. If you have a
Exactly
partnership,
right.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest benefits of it. You don't have to consult with anyone else. If
Yeah.
you have a partnership, you have to consult with all your other partners, and then if they have voting power higher than you do, you don't have much chance in that aspect of it. And then you have your C corporation, your S corporation that has a board of directors that usually makes a lot of the decisions, and decisions come down from them. And the third thing you want to look at is your limited liability. What are you doing, and do you need liability protection so that way if anything does happen, your personal assets are protected, your car's protected, your home's protected, anything else you have going on will be protected in most cases than what happens with the business. Then the fourth thing would be your tax implication, and that's something we'll talk a little bit more about today to help you guys out. But really, each entity has its tax advantages, and there's some benefits that one entity may have that another entity does not have, especially when it comes down to taxes. For instance, fringe benefits. And we could talk a little bit more about that one later as well. And then the fifth thing was capital. How do you plan on raising money for your business? It's oftentimes that you'll see a C corporation, S corporation have a little easier of a chance raising money, getting investors coming in just because of the type of structure they have. Really, when you're a sole proprietor, you normally are not seeing someone invest in your company. But a partnership is a little different as well. And then the last thing is how you want to transfer ownership. So when you're a sole proprietor, it's you. You don't have to worry about anything else. When you're a partner, if you have a partnership and you want to transfer ownership, or someone in your partnership wants to transfer ownership, they have that ability to transfer ownership. Now, the partners in that partnership need to agree on it, but they still have the ability to transfer that ownership to someone else if they like. And if they don't, the partnership doesn't agree on that, then they all have to get together and buy out that person. And that's kind of one of the biggest downsides as well to a partnership. But those are really 6 big key things you want to look at when you're determining, what do I need to be? I know I have an LLC, but do I want to be taxed and treated as an S corporation, C corporation, sole proprietor, or partnership? really need to look through all 6 of those, sit down with someone and determine what's going to be best for me.
Yep. And the other thing that I was going to mention, besides having a great financial advisor like Joshua, you also then need to have a good attorney.
Yes.
But I'm not available. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And not at the moment.
No, no, my focus is on my other businesses. So, but I'm sure, and again, it's like you said, there are all these different levels here. And so each one involves some form of paperwork, some form of
Yeah.
contract, some form of agreement. So, from the financial planning perspective, what is there like an underlying foundation that every business needs to think about, no matter what their label? What do you recommend?
So are you asking entity wise or?
Yeah.
So entity wise, I think the biggest thing, and just being my background, is the whole tax implication. Because really, over your lifetime, taxes are most likely going to be one of your biggest expenses next to owning a house. So if you end up going a C corporation and have no idea that the double taxation is an issue you have to worry about, then you may end up paying way more in tax than you actually do if you go an S corporation route. But if you're not working with someone that knows their information, they can't tell you all the benefits, or may not know all the benefits that come with a C corporation. And it's often that a C corporation, even though there's double taxation you have to worry about, there's a lot of strategies available to C corporation that's not available to other entities that could end up making double taxation still be to the point where you're paying less in taxes. Ironically, I know it sounds weird, but given certain situations, it can end up like that.
So, what other advice do you have for individuals who, I mean, how would they reach out to you and connect with you if they wanted to have you advise and consult with them?
Yeah, definitely. You guys can always feel free to give me a call. My number is 805-364-0908. You can reach out to us on thompsontaxgroup.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. We're always posting tax tips and knowledge that you guys could use. But I also kind of wanted to tell you guys a little bit about just benefit-wise for the partnership S Corporation, C Corporation. I think I left that out earlier for you guys. So a partnership, they have tax advantages similar to sole proprietor when it comes down to it. They also have that self-employment benefit when it comes down to children. Now, children have to be certain ages, and it's not for all children, but it is something that we could talk about in the future. But they can negate paying self-employment tax if their children are in those qualifications. They also have the ability to make special allocations. For instance, I was talking with an individual earlier last week where he wanted to create a partnership, but the other partner in the partnership didn't want any of the profits because they had certain other things going on in their life. So a partnership, you have that ability to say the partnership makes X amount of money, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get any percent of the profits. 100% is going to go to me, or 75% is going to go to me, and 25% is going to go to you. And a lot of times that's really beneficial when you have a partner that does a lot of work, and then you have a partner that maybe does less or does it part-time or something similar to that aspect of it. And then usually partnerships have lower audit risk, and that's because they basically believe that each partner is going to monitor each other. They know one person a lot of times aren't going to get over on the next person. And then for an S corporation, that's obviously you have your limited liability protection with the S and the C corporation, kind of to wrap it up. And then you also have that, I'm going to try this word again, the continuity. Oh man, that's what I'm going to work on later this week.
That's all
But
right. The continuity.
yes, thank you. Of life, thank you. I'm just gonna have to fill you in right there whenever I had to say that one. And then for an S corporation, you also have the benefit of you get to also negate certain percentage of self-employment tax. It's a benefit because you could take your W-2 and then you can take your distributions. Now your W-2, you have to pay self-employment tax, income tax on it, but your distribution, you don't have to pay self-employment taxes on that. So that's also a benefit that an S corporation benefits from. For a C corporation, they have a thing like I was saying earlier called fringe benefits, and that's available to the owner. So that what that allows you to do as a business owner, you can start writing off certain personal expenses and still write it off in the business as long as it qualifies as fringe benefits. You also get that liability protection that we're talking about earlier that the S corporation gets. And like I was saying, it is a little bit easier to raise funds with a C corporation. Those are really the benefits for the 4 type of entities: a sole proprietor, partnership, S corporation, and C corporation, to go over. But really, at the end of the day, it depends on your goals and really the 6 characteristics that we were talking about earlier.
So I want you to mention again, because you've given us such valuable information. I want you to mention again how they can reach out to you.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder for everyone who's maybe not familiar with podcasts, there will be that block of information above the podcast. There'll be that information above the YouTube channel. So so how would they reach you?
Yeah, so you guys can reach me. Once again, my number here is 805-364-0908. That goes directly to my cell phone, so I pick up. Please don't call me at midnight, but my phone will ring. Feel free to text me. My email is joshua@thompsontaxgroup.com. Thompson is THOMPSON, and then taxgroup.com. Our website, our Instagram, also at Thompson Tax Group as well. And you guys can reach out to us. We're always constantly on there answering emails, phone calls, messages. We're happy to sit down, talk with you, and do initial consultation as well if you like.
Now, one last question. What state are you in?
I am in California.
So, so from a time perspective, when you're calling him, remember that, but also, are you able to consult across the country?
Yes, I am. I work with people across the country, all states, I was actually working with an individual. I'll save that story for another time. So call me if you want to hear that story, but we're going to another individual from another state.
Next episode.
Yeah, we'll save that one for later.
Yeah. Yeah. So any last thoughts before we we end? Again, guys, definitely click JCooperTravels, subscribe to JCooperTravels, the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, JCooperTravels. With the YouTube channel, I'm being really transparent. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can put a direct link in. Right now, I can only put emails because YouTube has certain rules. So if you, to show your support and like of the podcast and what Joshua is sharing, all we're asking is that you hit like and subscribe to both the podcast as well as the YouTube channel, because we appreciate that. And then you can follow more of the episodes. But any last minute thoughts?
Other than that, thank you for having me again. It's always great. Always a pleasure being here with you guys. Love talking with you guys, giving some information. But yes, please subscribe, join. If I gave you at least one tip that you guys were able to use, or even if you like the background, please subscribe, like, show your support, everyone.
And for those that are wondering what's behind me where it says free travel savings, ask me how. I will also include in the podcast area how you can get a free membership to my wholesale travel booking platform where you can save up to 35% on your travels. Because as travel opens up, which it is all over the world, it's always good to save, because then you can use that money for other things in your business or your personal life. Because, again, vacations are something that we all enjoy and look forward to taking to again. Thank you so much, Joshua, for being on. I look forward to talking to you again.
You as well. Thank you.